take that. Oh, let your love take it from the enemy. Whoa. Full of power, full of glory, shed glory. You're a conqueror, you're a warrior. Put your high heels on and make a mark.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. We are Uncommon Women. I'm Shanera.
I'm Kate.
And I'm Jenny Lee.
So today we're actually going to be focusing on solid foundation. I was actually reading a neat article which basically gives you a breakdown of what solid foundation is. For those who aren't aware of what a foundation is, it means to set something permanently. So permanently is actually a good root word in regards to family and building a solid foundation.
So with that being said, what does building a foundation mean to you? What does foundation mean to you?
Strength, being strong, standing on it. Consistency, just gotta be constantly on it. You know, because if you're not constantly on it, you know, just you stop doing something, doesn't become solid. It's not full.
I definitely agree with that. I think relationship is also good. You know, when you're raising children, for the women out there that's actually raising children, I think relationship has a big impact on the children that you're raising to build a solid foundation.
Mm-hmm. So like when I think of foundation, I think about a building. I think about the platform that a building has and the importance of building a strong foundation. Within a building, it lies the concrete basement or the concrete on the floor, that level. You need strength and tenacity in that so you can build layers on that. If you don't have a strong foundation, then your building's not going to be able to reach great heights. And you can compare it to some of the buildings in New York City and metropolitan areas. That way, when nature comes and wreaks havoc, that your building is not moving because you already had built it on a tight structure. That way it can stand upright. To me, I also think of the metaphor of a bamboo tree. So a foundation is something that when you're rooted, and you root it really deep, that when trials and tribulations come, you're not easily moved or uprooted like a palm tree in a hurricane, but that you just bend like a bamboo stick and you bounce right back. And some of the key characteristics of a strong foundation to me is having that strength in knowing what your morals are, what your values are, what you honor. Building those things is important to know who you are and what you believe on, because it comes down to decision making, and as a parent you're making those decisions for your family as well.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. I actually feel as though when you are raising children that we are their stability and we are their foundation into molding them into the person that they're going to be in the future. And when you have a firm foundation at home, it actually goes with you as an adult. Mm-hmm. So what we speak over our children's lives is actually important as well, and to molding who they are as a person. You know, words do have a big impact on children. So when you're speaking positive things over your children, it can actually mold them into having confidence for themselves, versus speaking down to them is giving them more a sense of a negative impact on their identity.
Yes, I do agree with that as well. For an example, as for myself, you know, when you don't speak them words at all, especially over your children, it affects them completely because they get lost in their identity. They feel rejected, not loved, shamed, and you know, they start doing things that they want to do. So we're not showing our children and giving them them positive words. It just makes them just do things that, you know, that aren't good. So we as parents, you know, to fulfill that foundation in them, we have to speak that positive words over them so that they can grow into the person they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that as a parent, you have the honor, or just as a person, you have the honor of making decisions. And your decisions are rooted in what you believe in, and that foundation. We make 1,000 decisions, and sometimes we make decisions that are conscious, sometimes we make them that they're unconscious. Decisions happen so fast that our innovative mind controls the course of actions, and sometimes we have no idea that it's even happening. It's almost as if we are running on autopilot. So if we don't have a strong foundation in the core values of what's important to us, what we believe in, when we're making decisions so fast and so rapidly, that can dictate the outcome of the decision. Negative events are easily remembered than positive ones, and I think that's true with words. Negative words are easily remembered than positive words.
I think building on to what you're saying, I think negative words have an impact on tearing down a foundation of a person.
Sure.
Versus, it's easier for you to speak negative things to your children versus speaking positive things to them. And when you're speaking negative things to a person, it breaks them down. It breaks them down like a building.
Yeah, what it does, it erodes your self-esteem. So just as over time, buildings wear down, you can think about historical monuments and historical buildings, or when you're driving by and you see that dilapidated farmhouse, it's because it wasn't taken care of. So I think that our responsibility is get to build a good foundation within ourselves, so we be able to build that with our children, our family, our friends, our coworkers. I think that as I was talking about the environment having an impact on a building and the foundation, you have to be really aware of the environment and how it influences you. So make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right crowd. I know that I can
Yes.
take back as when I was a teenager, I had so many different diversity of friends that there were some friends who influenced me in the right way and some who influenced me in the wrong way. And what I wish I would have done is had a mentor who could have been like, hey Kate, I don't think hanging out with this crowd is the best for your future. Trusting somebody, finding somebody who loves me and adores me, and I had that, but in a sense, I wish that someone would just took me and shook me as a teenager, to tell me to stop.
And I understand where you're coming from, because when you have these relationships, whether it's family, friends, or we always want that support system where we don't have it, to stir us the right way. Like, for instance, I know I didn't grow up with guidance. I wanted that from my mother, but I wasn't getting that. But I had people, that were trying to guide me, but being as young and being broken down and having all this negativity over my life and over completely, I just didn't want to do nothing. I just felt hopeless, and even though I had these people that were trying to guide me and stir me in the right direction, I was still young and naive, and I was busy worried about living the negative life instead of the positive life, the positive that I was trying, and the positive guidance that they were trying to give me. I wasn't taking heed to it either.
I totally agree with that. Relationship is very important. It's times where I feel as though I can't talk to my parents. I did grow up with both parents, but some things it was easier to go to my friends versus going to an adult.
Yes.
And at a young age, we don't feel as though, we feel that adults know everything, but we don't take in a sense to know that they have an experience to actually teach us and can give us a great perspective of life and experience in regards to what they went through in life.
Yeah, I agree, because I think the honoring your parents, right? Knowing that they walk through life, they have a lot more tenure on us. Just anybody. Like, you can sit in a nursing home with an 80 or 90-year-old and learn so much from them, but it's taking the time to stop and really listen. I think that as children, it's important that the parents are providing a safe environment. So that's why we're so, when we're younger, so reluctant to lean on our friends, because it's a safe environment, it's comfortable. Whereas with parents, sometimes if you are such a hard parent that you go for the belt, and you're so stern that when a child comes to a situation that they don't feel comfortable or safe to express the need. So as parents, I think that's important, that we're creating a safe environment, that we're not being their friend, but we're still being a parent, but we're still providing a safe environment that we can give guidance to our children.
And I think, growing up, sometimes I felt as though my parents gave me the fear to be able to communicate with them when I was going through something. So now, as raising a child, I make it open and willing to let him know that, if you're going through something, it's okay to talk to me. I'm an open ear for you when you're going through something, and have that communication and relationship with your child versus, what I went through in life.
Yeah, and I agree, but not everyone has it that way. So it's like for example, and growing up, I had that with my kids where I have them come talk to me. I am their parent, but I'm also their friend. But I'm their parent first before I'm their friend. As being a mother of teenagers, as me growing up, my kids already know I didn't have that. So that's why I'm like I'm so strong on it about it with my kids, and that's why I have a good relationship with my kids. I don't want to show them fear, but I want to show them that I am stern and that I am consistent on what I say. The same way I didn't have that. So with me growing up not having that, I wanted to make sure I had that for my kids, because I know my mother didn't have that either. So it was also passed down on to me. So since I didn't get that, it was with me more. It was more fear and growing up, because I didn't have both my parents, but I had the step parent and I had the mother. But the step parent, they didn't stir me in the right way as they should have. But that's okay. But in my situation now, I have me and my kid's father, that we are both stern, and positive, and trying to show these kids, we are your parents and we are also your friend, but you can also come to us to talk to about anything. And I'm thankful that I have that relationship with them as well right now in this time, and being a mother of teenagers, because that's important.
That's very important. That's very important in raising children, having a great relationship, and also letting them know that they have a voice. They have a voice to be able to express something that's going on or something that they're not understanding. And it's okay. It's okay for a child or a teenager to be angry, but you have to be able to speak to someone. Because sometimes when you're speaking to people the same age as you, they're not going to give you the positive feedback that you need on a certain situation. And when you have a solid foundation, you'll be able to bounce back on something when you're able to communicate with your parents or someone that be able to mentor you that's been through it.
I think mentorship is huge. I'm such a big component on it. When I was a teenager, I always looked into my teachers, because I wanted to be the best at everything. So I always studied and linked myself up with people who were good, so I can take their strengths and try and grow mine. When I was a teenager, I was my volleyball coach, because volleyball was brand new. When I was a teen mom, it was women in my life. Being a teen mom, I had my son, and the first time they put my son right on my chest, I was in a state of shock. My son was the first baby that I ever really physically held. It was the first diaper I ever changed. I knew nothing about raising kids. He was the first baby in my family. And at that time, I was going through a lot of turmoil with my mom. So I would find strong women who would guide me. I remember that this woman taught me how to change a pamper on a baby while my baby was sitting in my lap. I used to take cold water right out of the fridge, put formula in it, and feed my kid cold milk. And I had no idea that you were supposed to warm that stuff up. When I started pursuing my career, I found strong leaders within my job who taught me how to become a better leader. I linked myself up with my pastor just to get more strength and grow my relationship with God through that leadership. So I constantly think that mentorship is important, and I love mentoring other people, making deposits in them and then seeing them succeed. And I would only be able to do that because I build a foundation within myself. So now I can build layer on layer on layer. So I have a question for you, ladies.
Okay.
What experiences you as a child did you have that impacted you today as an adult?
I think lack of communication really impacted me as an adult. If I would have had that relationship with my parents, talking to them and actually going to them and not feeling that fearful, feeling fearful that I wasn't able to communicate with them, it would have molded me and helped me with a solid foundation with my son. Because, like you said, children, they don't come with hand guides on how to raise a child. So it was by trial and error in regards to building a solid foundation for my son. I feel as though being older, being an adult, that the lack of relationship with my parents really impacted me and gave me a little delay in regards to growing up and as an adult. So I think relationship is very important, to a solid foundation, and love. Love definitely is a very important key that I would like to point out as well, because sometimes parents come busy with working and having to take care of a lot of responsibilities that they don't sit and actually spend time with kids these days. They're so busy working around paying bills, and the generation these days, we have a lot of single mothers like us that have to do everything. So I think showing your children that you have love and communicating with them in regards to day to day, even if you're like in the car, communicate with them. Let them know, hey, is everything good? Anything you need to talk about? How school, detailed stuff, so that they know that they're loved.
I think what I hear from you the most, Shanaira, is about being intentional.
Yes.
Because I think that a lot of times as parents, we know they love them. You can say I love you, but how are you communicating your love?
Yes.
So just pausing for the moment and being intentional.
Yeah, well, my experience is like lack of love and not voicing anything, not getting that understanding and listening, as now, with me is like, I know I'm loved. And then now I can actually have that voice, now that I'm older, and that love, because yeah, my mom loves me. And then, we don't have the perfect relationship, but I now I can come to her and speak to her, and voice certain things that I couldn't voice as a child, because I felt like if I voiced something, it was I was fearful because of the way I was raised, So, and I'm thankful that I can actually voice myself and not be afraid anymore, because when I was a child, like I said, I was afraid. And then now that it's the same way with my kids, where, my kids they never lacked that love. So the love that I lacked, I gave it to them, and then I let them voice. I let them have a voice, since they were children, because I needed to know if my kids were uncomfortable with anything, or if they were hurting, because I need to know, because I know these things, because growing up was being very silent and not really being able to voice, because I was hurting as a child. I wanted my mom to know how much I was hurting, how uncomfortable I felt, and I couldn't do that. But I'm thankful now, as I'm older and I experience, I'm able to also speak on it now, and also have it with my kids.
That's awesome. Great. Does anyone else want to add anything before we wrap up?
No.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to Uncommon Women. Make sure you actually like, share, and comment on our webpage. If you have any questions, you can also email us, uncommonwomenpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear from you, and I want to challenge you that until our next episode drops, that you share us with your friends, because there's somebody out there that needs to hear this. So I encourage you just to share, and comment if you have any ideas or if there's a specific topic you want us to be on. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next episode.